guys, welcome back. If you don't know, my name's Brittany. This is my son Sebastian, and if you hear anything like some random scraping noise, that's Jeff shoveling. So if you're new to my channel, definitely make sure to hit that subscribe button. It would literally mean the world to me. I'm going to be posting so much more. Now, today I wanted to dive into the story of Elisa Lam and the Cecil Hotel. Now, a lot of people know about Elisa Lam just because of the infamous elevator video. And then on top of that, recently Netflix released a series called Crime Scene: The Vanishing at the Cecil Hotel. And if you guys haven't watched it yet, it is absolutely amazing. So it's packed filled with information, and it was very well put together. But if you guys haven't seen it yet, definitely, even if you have, definitely stay tuned, because I am going to talk about a lot of things. Now, in 2013, a clip was released to the public, and it went viral. It showed a grainy elevator footage of a girl, and she was acting pretty bizarre. She was very frantic and paranoid within the 4 minutes of security footage. She was pressing a ton of different buttons. She was going in and out of the elevator. At times, she was acting like she was hiding from something, and frequently was looking out of the elevator at something that nobody else could see. Also, another bizarre part of this footage was the fact that the elevator didn't move. The doors didn't close as it normally would while she was in the elevator. Now, the girl in the footage was Elisa Lam, and she was 21 years old. And this footage took place in none other than the infamous Cecil Hotel. Now, the Cecil Hotel seemed to be a very dark place, and it had a lot of dark energy around it. And many people actually believe that this hotel is cursed. It has a reputation for death. More than a dozen murders and suicides have taken place in and around the hotel since it opened in 1927. The hotel is also said to be the last known place that the Black Dahlia was spotted. Elizabeth Short had her last drink in the hotel bar before she was murdered in 1947. Her body was dismembered and discovered by a mother with a child walking in a nearby neighborhood. Cecil also was a short-term home to the serial killer Richard Ramirez, who was also known as the Night Stalker. He terrorized Southern California in the mid-1980s, and during part of that spree, he made the Cecil Hotel his home. His MO was very unlike most serial killers. Usually, most serial killers will follow a pattern, and it makes them, I guess, easier to catch or easier to figure out who their next victim might be. However, Richard Ramirez, he literally went after anybody. It could be a man, a woman, a child. He would break into their homes at night, and I guess the rest is history. Ramirez stayed on the 14th floor of the Cecil Hotel for only $14 a night. And after he would go out and kill somebody, he would throw his bloody clothes into the hotel dumpster. And then he would go and walk through the lobby of the hotel, either just in his underwear or completely naked. And nobody batted an eye. They didn't think it was strange at all. Which I think that would be a pretty red flag of, like, why is this person doing this? But because of the area it was in and the time that it was happening, nobody thought it was strange, or they just didn't care. In the 1930s alone, the hotel was home to at least 6 reported suicides. A few residents ingested poison, while others killed themselves in much more gruesome ways, or even jumped out of their bedroom window. In 1944, a woman by the name of Dorothy Jean Purcell awoke in the middle of the night with severe stomach pains. while she was staying at the Cecil Hotel with 38-year-old Ben Levine. Now, to her shock, she actually gave birth to a baby boy that night. And she never knew she was pregnant, which I don't really understand that. I never could understand how people could go that long without knowing they were pregnant. Especially with, like, I had a feeling that I was pregnant pretty early on just because, you know, you miss your period and you are nauseous or morning sickness or extra pain. So, like, there's different symptoms that kind of scream, hey, something's different. So I don't understand how people can go the entire pregnancy without knowing. But anyways, that's what she did. It said that she thought that the baby was dead, that she had, like, miscarried, that the baby was a stillborn, which I don't, but the baby wasn't. But she thought it was, supposedly, and threw it out the window onto a nearby roof. Which part of me thinks that she just didn't want the baby, and that was kind of her out, which is just terrible. However, at her trial, she was found not guilty of murder by reason of insanity and was admitted to a hospital for psychiatric evaluation and treatment. Now, in 1962, 65-year-old George Giannini was walking by the Cecil Hotel, just like casually walking, enjoying his day, when he was struck to death by a falling woman. A woman named Pauline Otten, who was 27 at the time, jumped from her 9th floor window after getting into a fight with her estranged husband and fell on this poor man and killed them both. Now, in 1991, another serial killer called the Cecil Hotel home, and his name was Jack Unterweger. Now, he was an Austrian serial killer, and he actually did serve some time in prison, but then when he got out, he started killing again, fled to the United States, and called the Cecil his home. Now, the Cecil was the perfect place for him to kind of set up camp because of how many prostitutes were on Skid Row, and his MO was to kill prostitutes. There are also many cold cases at the Cecil Hotel, but just one of them is that there's a local woman known as Goldie Osgood, and she was found dead in her ransacked hotel room. She was fatally stabbed, beat, and raped, and the killer was never found. The Cecil Hotel was originally meant to be a destination hotel for international businessmen and social elites. In 1924, the creator of the hotel spent $1 million on creating this hotel. The hotel consisted of 700 rooms, complete with a marble lobby, stained glass windows, palm trees, and an opulent staircase. Obviously, the Cecil took a really bad turn from what the original plans for the hotel was. Just 2 years after the Cecil Hotel had opened, the world was thrown into the Great Depression, and soon the area surrounding the hotel became known as Skid Row, which was home to thousands of homeless people. Now, on top of this, it was riddled with people who were addicted to drugs, people selling drugs, prostitutes, violence. And then the hotel, well, its reputation became drenched in death. And it became a meeting place for junkies, runaways, and criminals. People who couldn't pass a background check. People that didn't have a lot of money. Because of the reputation at the Cecil Hotel, there's actually a season of American Horror Story that was modeled after this hotel. And if you have ever seen American Horror Story, it's a good show, but it's so twisted. And so for the show, or the creators of the show, to choose to model it after the Cecil Hotel shows the messed up things that surround this hotel. Now in 2011, the Cecil tried rebranding itself. They wanted to get rid of, all of the bad things that had happened because they felt that it could never succeed if it was always being followed around by tragedy. So they tried rebranding part of the hotel as the Stay of Maine, which meant they split certain floors to be the Stay at Maine Hotel. And if you were to go on a website to book a stay at this hotel, it wasn't even affiliated with the Cecil Hotel. They were completely different. They had different lobbies, different floors, but one thing was the same: the elevators. Now, if you were to stay at the Stay at Maine Hotel, it would cost you about $75 a night. And it was mainly used to target, young travelers. It was supposed to be this really hip and cool place to stay. And it was getting really good reviews. I'm gonna dive back into the story of Elisa Lam. Now, Elisa didn't book a stay at the Cecil. She booked a stay at the Stay at Maine. She was a Canadian Vancouver student who was planning a solo trip up the coast of California. She just kind of wanted to clear her head, get away. She felt very overwhelmed by life, so she wanted to kind of do this on her own. Now, on January 28th, 2013, Elisa checked into the Stay on Maine. Her stay was supposed to last 3 nights. She originally was sharing a room with a couple other girls, which they had rooms where you could share them with other people, like strangers, and then they had community bathrooms. So she was doing that because it was a cheaper way to go. So she was doing that, but she ended up getting switched to a solo room because her roommates started complaining. They were saying how, she was leaving notes on their bed, go home and leave. And when they would try to get into the room, she would actually request a password from them. So they were a little alarmed, this girl isn't right. Something's wrong. And they felt uncomfortable. But Elisa was switched to a single room. Now, she had also gone to a live taping of a show in Burbank. And she was acting really strange. She wrote this long rambling letter and demanded that it was given to the host, which kind of put off alarms in security's heads, and she was removed from the building. Now, the last time Elisa was seen entering the hotel, she was coming back from visiting a bookstore, which was called The Last Bookstore. And the last footage of her ever was the elevator footage. Now, Elisa Lam was reported missing soon after she failed to check out on February 1st, 2013. She was calling her parents every day, and then suddenly she wasn't calling them anymore. They thought something was wrong, so she got reported missing very quickly. Her room was in some disarray, but not anybody shuffled through anything. And all of her stuff was still there. Her ID, her meds, her luggage. So people started thinking that foul play was involved. Search parties of police and dogs searched the hotel, surrounding areas of the hotel, and even the roof. But they found nothing. On February 14th, the elevator video was released to the public because police were kind of at a loss. They didn't know what else to do. They were hitting a bunch of dead ends, and they unfortunately lost a lot of the detectives on the case because another case ended up taking priority, which really affected the Elisa Lam case because they didn't have as many people on it anymore. Former LAPD officer Christopher Dorner went on a 9-day killing spree targeting police officers. And on February 12th, he died during a standoff with the police. So it's also important to note that not all floors in the hotel had security cameras. So Elisa's floor didn't have one. So investigators watched the footage of like the lobby of the hotel to make sure that Elisa didn't leave, that they didn't see her leaving, and they never saw her leaving. So they knew that she was still in the hotel. They used scent tracking dogs that took investigators up to the 5th floor, which was the one that Elisa was staying on. And they brought them to a window that had a fire escape. However, the trail kind of just stopped there. Now, internet sleuths actually found that in the elevator video, timestamp froze multiple times and said that the video seemed to be slowed down like 35%, which led to about a minute unaccounted for. And a lot of people thought that that minute that was missing showed the killer, like who killed Elisa, because in the video, it's very evident that she's talking to somebody, that she's communicating with somebody. It was also found out that in Elisa's rush to press all of the buttons that she also pressed the button door hold, which explains why the elevator didn't move. It was also found out that she was in the footage, she was on the 14th floor, which is one floor down from the roof. Now, when she was pressing those buttons and she pressed that door hold button, she might not have even realized it in the frenzy she was in. So, how was she found? Well, guests started complaining about water pressure, a funny taste to the water, and the water being discolored. So, maintenance couldn't find, they realized that there was a problem, so they went to the water tanks. They climbed up the ladder and saw Elisa floating in the water tank, naked and face up. So on February 19th, 2013, 20 days after she disappeared, Elisa Lam was found. The crazy thing is, police went up to the roof. They searched the roof and they didn't find Elisa, but most likely she was there. And they said that they didn't go over to the water tanks, which might have just been misjudgment, but I would think that, these big things, that you should probably check them. Investigators told the public that the water tank hatch was closed, and the fact that there was no ladder in the tank meant she couldn't close the hatch by herself after she jumped in, so that raised a lot of suspicion. There's no telling how long she was actually in the tank for, and there were no injuries on her of any kind. So no external, no internal injuries. The rape kit came back clean, so she wasn't raped. And the police said that there was no way that anyone could have carried her body up the ladder without damaging it in any way. So no bruises, no cuts, and the body wasn't damaged. There was also no evidence of drugs of any kind, except for the prescription drugs that she was prescribed, so she was supposed to be taking. However, there was a significant less amount in her system than there should be. So it kind of seemed like she was undertaking her medication. Now, there were and still are a ton of different conspiracy theories surrounding this case. People thought that the hotel was hiding evidence, and then said LAPD was hiding evidence, and then said they were working together to hide evidence. There's also a tuberculosis test that was called Lam Elisa, which is Elisa Lam just switched. And the tuberculosis outbreak in the hotel only happened a couple days after Elisa Lam was missing, after she had died. And people in the hotel were drinking the water. So because of this very, very strange coincidence, people thought that Elisa Lam was actually sent to spread the disease at the Cecil Hotel to get rid of the homeless population. But they killed her because she knew too much. Another one that was that her death was very similar to a horror film that was created 10 years or so before Elisa Lam went missing and passed. Now, this horror film was called Dark Water, and it does have some really strange coincidences, like how Elisa Lam was dressed, the fact that she died in a water tank, and there was a theory that, maybe some sicko was trying to recreate the film, which does happen sometimes, which is so messed up. Now, another one was the address that she listed at the hotel took Google Maps searchers to a Canadian cemetery where Elisa was actually buried. So that was a really strange glitch. Now, some people thought a ghost might have killed Elisa, or that she was playing the elevator game and it took her to another dimension. And then there was a conspiracy theory that completely changed somebody's life in the worst way. Now, the founding member of the band Dynasty of Darkness, singer Morbid, was blamed by complete strangers online who didn't have all the information and was just trying to connect the dots. But he was blamed for murdering Elisa. He had never met her. He went to the hotel a year before she was even there. And he all of a sudden started getting so many messages and of like, did you kill her? Just admit to it. And nobody would believe his innocence, even though he was in Mexico working on his album at the time of her death. And even though he had passports and, contracts stating, yeah, he was here, a lot of people were so convinced that he killed her based off of just a music video or songs that they really destroyed his life. Like, he hasn't recorded music. He tried to take his life. He went through, probably still has depression and PTSD because of it. So it shows how serious something can get just by somebody having just a little bit of information. And this guy never even got an apology from anybody who went and harassed him. Now, this part's very important because although investigators originally said that the hatch was closed, that wasn't the case. It was revealed that the hatch was actually opened when the maintenance man went up, and it was just someone misspeaking, like kind of like a game of telephone where you go across and it's all messed up at the end. But it's something that completely changes the possibilities of this case. And if that wasn't the case, if that wasn't the case, if that mistake wasn't made, the case might have not taken on the life that it did. Now, the case was closed in June of 2013, and Elisa Lam's death was ruled as an accidental drowning, with her bipolar disorder being a very big contributor to it. According to Dr. Judy Ho, who was actually interviewed for the Netflix series, she thought that Elisa had bipolar 1. She said that an individual with this disorder could spiral into a psychotic state where they have a very disorganized way of thinking and have a huge amount of trouble separating reality from fantasy. She said that the way that Elisa was acting in the elevator footage was right on par to the way that someone with this disorder would act off their medication, because they'd be in the middle of a psychotic episode. If someone's in the middle of a psychotic episode, they can hear voices, they can see things, and it can all seem really real. Like, these voices will be saying very frightening things, very dark things, telling you to do things. Like somebody is out to harm you or to even hurt yourself. And there's no way of making these voices stop. Now, I know that when somebody's off their medication, even if it's for like 2 days, it really doesn't take long. Their mind can just spiral because you're taking a medication that affects the chemicals in your brain. And when it just stops, it's never good. Mental illness is such this, just because people can't see it, it often gets misconstrued as it's not really happening, or it's all in your head, or you're making it up, but just fix it. But that's not the way it is. It's very serious. And it's very hard to control. And when you're taking this brain-altering medication and then you're just stopping it altogether, it can have some pretty serious life-threatening side effects. Like when somebody gets taken off a depression medication or something like that, they have to be weaned off it. They can't just stop taking it. Now, detectives, coroners, and psychologists all agree that they believe that she climbed into the tank to escape from a perceived threat. That she saw the water tank, looked at it as a place to hide. When she got in there, she realized that that hatch was her only way out. Now, if the tank was full, she could have pulled herself out. But if it's constantly being used, or when it's being used, the water will fluctuate. So it will make it very hard for somebody to just pull herself out. So she knew that in order to stay alive, she had to tread the water and kind of just wait for an opportunity to be able to do that. However, that gets exhausting. So it's believed that she took her clothes off in order to lift some of the weight off, and that she might also have suffered from hypothermia. And unfortunately, as we know, she didn't make it. Now, we still don't know how she ended up in the water tank. Some believe that she went through the door, however, like the door to the roof, however, only certain people were allowed that key. However, there was a fire escape that went straight up to the roof that wasn't really monitored. I do think that the hotel should hold some responsibility for it, just simply because there were a lot of signs, and yeah, it's not their job to fix things. It's not their job to, like, fix people. But if they just went up to her and was just like, hey, do you need help? Can we call your parents? Is everything okay? When people were, like, her roommates and stuff were complaining about how she was acting and the disturbances that she was making, then it could have saved her life. Like, it might not have. And things could have turned out exactly how they did. But you don't know. So I don't know if you guys think that Elisa passed because of suffering from this mental disorder, and she was actually running away from something that nobody else could see. Or do you think that there really was a person there and it's just some big cover-up? I can definitely see, like, the possibility of it just being her mental illness took too much of an effect. And it would almost make it easier to say that there was somebody out there hurting, like planning to hurt her, and that she was running from, or who did this to her, instead of a demon in her mind. But I think that the fact that the hatch was open, like actually open, and not closed, like which was originally released to the public, does make a huge difference, because it makes it possible for her to have gotten in. And unfortunately, it was a really tragic accident. But I do think that the Cecil Hotel should have had locks on something like that. Because, like, 2013, that's, 8 years ago now? But that's really not that long ago. For them to have something simple, like a latch on a water tank. Let me know what you guys think about the Elisa Lam story and the Cecil Hotel. A lot of people think that she is just another victim of this hotel. That once you step into it, something terrible is bound to happen. So leave your thoughts in the comments down below. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, definitely give it a big thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, definitely make sure to hit that subscribe button. It means so much to me, you guys. I love you all so much, and I will see you next time. Bye.